Electrocast.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on MTP, we recap the Dallas Cowboys' win over the Philadelphia Eagles from this past Monday. We'll discuss Justin Fields' debut for the Bears. We'll talk Tom Brady's return to Foxboro versus the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. And we'll even check in on those Boston Red Sox and their spectacular late-season collapse. This is Missing the Point, episode 89. And yes, we did change our logo.
Welcome into Missing the Point. I'm Mike, joined here by the real BK, Bob Kelly, with Craig, as always, behind the booth. And today we are talking Week 3 NFL recap. We're talking about Tom Brady's homecoming. We're also talking maybe a little bit about the Boston Red Sox and their utter collapse over the weekend. But I think I owe it to the person sitting across from the camera with me to first talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys' monumental victory last night, 41-21 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, I think we talked about, Bobby, they're not a great team, but a division win is a division win. So before we get into it, also between all of that, BK is gonna give us his power rankings, which I'm sure will cause a controversy. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you thought about that game last night, Monday Night Football, 41-21 over the Eagles?
So what the thing with good teams, though, is so I've been trying to stop myself from telling myself this team is good for the last 2 weeks. I know I put them in my top 10. I know I talk a big game, but anyone I'm texting, I'm like, wait, are we actually good? Is this team actually a good football team? Because that's something that, I can't get to my head myself doing when it comes to Cowboys Nation. But to show out against a team in your division like this, coming into this game, I was like, okay, if we blow them out after beating the Chargers last week, we might actually be a legit team. And we came in and we blew the goddamn doors off the Eagles, man. From moment one, the only hiccup the entire game was really that Dak fumble in the end zone. Other than that, man, that was just complete and utter domination by the Cowboys. So the turnaround from the defense, Dak Prescott, listen, we'll get there. Dak Prescott showing that he came back. Honestly, he looks better. He looks more in control than he did at the beginning of last year. Having Zeke, having Pollard as his tandem, the wide receivers we have, man. Cedric Wilson stepped in. We didn't even notice Gallup was gone. And then you go over to the defense, and it's I can't believe I'm saying this, but I love our defense this year. And it's not that we stop teams. It's not that we don't give up yards. We give up first downs. But when it comes down to it, I can almost predict it, man, where it's when you need that turnover, whether it be in the red zone, whether it be a pick six like we saw last night with Diggs, this defense seems to have turned into a ball-hawking defense. And in my mind, it's Dan Quinn, that's why. But this was one of the best football games, honestly. Not best, one of my favorite and funnest football games I've watched in the last 5 to 10 years, just because of how dominant and how good they actually looked.
Are we able to just put the way you're talking about this defense into perspective, right? So I think because they were probably one of the worst defenses in the history of the National Football League a year ago, the improvement that we're seeing, it makes it look like they're I'm going to say it right now. I love you, Bobby, that they're better than they are, because what they're not is they're not a top 10 defense by any stretch of the imagination. They're still allowing, 20 points a game. They're still allowing 400 yards a game. They're still allowing 331 passing yards a game. And I think, but they are opportune. I think that's the thing, right? They are a team that it's kind of, I don't want to, relate everything back to New England, but it's very Bill Belichickian in the sense that they are a bend but not break team.
Yeah.
Right. And when the opportunity strikes, they are there. And also, like, Micah Parsons, genius.
He's unbelievable. And the fact with Mike, so the reason I do have more confidence, not only in this year with this defense, but moving forward than I have in so long, is because of the backbones of that defense now are Trevon Diggs and Micah Parsons, man. Those two guys are absolute studs. As we all know him, Stefan's brother. Those two dudes are just absolute studs out there. You mix that with Dan Quinn, man, and I think this defense is only going to get better from here. I get what you're saying about not being a top 10 defense. I do, because I don't think they are. But the way I look at it is the Cowboys had the best offense in the league last year, right? Or 2 years ago, statistically. Worst defense in the league. And they went 8-8, which is normal. If the Cowboys that season had a defense even remotely close to this defense, that could have forced those turnovers, that could have, because, turnovers can turn a game so fast, man. You saw it in the Pats game. You saw it in this Cowboys game. A pick six, man, it can be ball game sometimes. And to finally have that ability is something that, I can't even describe it because I'm just not even used to it. Like, I don't even know what to do at this point. But yeah, so I'm just pumped, man. I'm so excited.
I think we were talking about it last year and even the year before. If that offense just had, maybe not the 32nd ranked defense, but how about the 20th? Like, you're at 11-5, 12-14. Now you get when it comes to just overall, you're the 13th ranked defense, which, if that's the case, and Dak plays that way, it's going to be tough for them to not go 12-5, right?
Especially in the division they're in. So what last night proved to me is the Cowboys are above and beyond, because the best team in the NFC East. The reason I say that is because coming into this week, right? I almost said it. I almost pulled the Monday Night Football announcer from last night. So you have the football team, you have the Giants, and you have the Eagles. The Eagles were kind of like the sleeper team coming in this week. People were like, oh, maybe they're the team that can challenge the Cowboys in the NFC East. None of those teams are coming close to the boys. Unless the Redskins can turn into the defense they were last year.
So can't call them that.
Oh, what? The football team can turn into... what is this, Chris Nealon all over again? Can turn into that team that we saw last year. That's the only chance they have. Other than that, the Cowboys will run away with this division if they keep up with what they kept up with last night, because that was just, I'm still speechless, man. I was expecting it, but I wasn't, because
it's just weird to me that you're speechless. Now, I gather that some of these are from, that they're garbage yards, right? But I never would have thought that you would be speechless when you read an opposing quarterback stat line of 25 of 39 for 326, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 1 pick six. But like, that pick six was egregious. However, Jalen Hurts, who's not known for his passing ability, threw it all over you. But somehow, you still won by 20. Somehow.
A lot of that, it was garbage time, though. I mean, coming out of that first half, man, that could have been 35-7. Should have been 35-7. With Dak Prescott scoring that touchdown, that game was over from the second quarter. I honestly think as soon as Trevon picked that ball off, you saw the defense slack off a little bit. You saw them fall back into coverage, and that's why you see those numbers. I'm really not worried about it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm really not worried about this defense right now. The only thing that scares me about this team is the goddamn special teams, man. They're going to cost us two games, maybe.
They already have. They've already cost you one.
Right. It already cost us one. And imagine, oh my God, man. Can you imagine if Zerline hits that field goal and we ended up beating the Bucs and we're 3-0 after beating the Buccaneers, Chargers, and then smoking the Eagles, bro?
Literally, all he had to do was just hit one of the 3 that he missed.
It's unbelievable. That's why and for us to beat the Chargers too, like, I know I'm like getting excited and like talking ahead of myself, because like I haven't had a team like this that beats a quarterback like Justin Herbert, that beats a team with the upside of the Chargers, and then comes back the next week in a game that they should win, and they actually do it. That's the thing that stands out to me is like coming into this week, the reason I think this team is actually legit, and I think that we are going somewhere this year. Who knows where that is? Maybe it's the first round exit in the playoffs. I'll take it.
You will absolutely not take that. You say that right now, but I know what you will be. You'll be insufferable if they go 12-5 and somehow they lose in the first round. But that does bring me to a question now. Like, as a Cowboys fan, like, you know way more about them than I do. How much of their success now, we've already attributed their defensive success to Dan Quinn. You say that Dak looks so much better. How much of that is now that he's had a full offseason to work in Mike McCarthy's offense?
It's not Mike McCarthy. I can tell you that. I know what you're saying, but I think I love, maybe Mike McCarthy's having a bigger influence on Kellen Moore, but the play calling that Kellen Moore is rolling out this season is so different than past years. He's actually getting into that next realm of that NFL, I don't know how to say it, play calling style, I guess, whatever, where there's lots of pre-snap motion. There's lots of misdirection. There's things that the Cowboys have been missing for the past 3-4 years underneath Jason Garrett. So it's just to see us turning the corner like this is probably the most upside I've seen the Cowboys have since that 13-3 Dak year, right? Without a doubt.
So 2016?
Yeah.
I mean, again, we talked about the other day. You've had a pretty good run of Cowboys success recently. I mean, honestly, you had 12-4 in 2014 with Romo. He gets hurt the next year. They go 4-12. Then the year after, the Dak comes here and he's 13-3. Offense really has not been an issue in Dallas for 10 years.
It's always defense.
Always defense. Not to get negative, just a question.
Mm-hmm.
How confident are you that they can keep playing like this, that they can continue to be the opportune defense that you've been seeing?
About a 6. If I was being real, about a 6. Listen, I've seen this before. Like, that's why I'm like really trying not to get too excited. That's why I'm like really trying to stop myself from being like, wow, we're really good.
That's why I'm here too.
2 years ago, we started out 6-0 or 5-0 and then ended up 10-6. So, like, yes, we made the playoffs. We lost to the Rams. It's not what I'm looking for. So I'm really stopping myself from getting too excited. Trying to stop myself from getting too excited.
I mean, based on what you've seen, doesn't 10-7 still get you the division? And I mean, the NFC East is, I mean, unless, like you said, unless Chase Young and the football team set it on fire over the next, 10 games, or unless Philly does figure it out offensively, but I don't think that they have the horses to match you defensively. It feels like 10-7 is good enough for that division.
I want us at home is my thing. So yes, we'll get that first round home game if we win the division, but I want that second round home game because last night shows me that Dak loves playing in Dallas. He loves that stadium. He loves those fans. If you get this man this year on this mission that he's on, in this headspace that he's on, in front of his home crowd in the playoffs, I would have really hard time betting against the Cowboys. So as much as I would love 10-7 to win the division, I want more. I need this team to be 12-5. Still so weird to say to me. 12-5, 13-4, somewhere around there. And that's where I would feel satisfied and feel confident going in the playoffs. 10-7, yes, it'll get us there. It's not going to do the trick, man. It's not going to do the trick.
How good did Dak look? 21 of 26. I mean, the yards aren't there, like 238, that's fine, but 3 touchdowns. And I think the most important thing that you've already talked about, right? I think because this is a perfect segue for us to move to our next topic. He's never looked more in control and more confident calling the plays ever.
Yeah. And you know what showed that his confidence so much too, or like his swag that he's got going on right now, is that end of the game. It seems silly, but that up and down that O-line did, that he told them to do. I don't know if you guys saw it, where they did like the old school, as they're going to kneel the ball, they go like up, down, and then they went and kneeled the ball. And it's like, bro, that's like that Red Sox stuff they were doing in the dugout this year, where they're rolling around in carts and stuff. Like, that's the swag that you need to make runs. And I just feel like with Dak, with that headspace he's in, making those decisions, having the confidence of his team, and then exuding that to the rest of the team to where they're doing stuff like that, bro. I can't say it right now. Don't make me say this, bro. I think it's a special year in Dallas, man. And I know it's only week 3, but like, it feels so good, man. I know it's one Dak injury away from just being over completely, but I honestly, like I was saying earlier, I haven't seen the Cowboys show up like that and win a game like they're supposed to in convincing, emphatic fashion, especially against a rival.
5 years.
At least 5 years, right? Since pretty much that's the best game I've seen in the play since that Steelers game and that 13-3 Dak season. That's the most fun I've had watching a game since then. So that's just where I feel like the headspace of this team is. So I do think there's big things ahead for the Cowboys this year. Surprise, surprise. Hot take in the century.
In all fairness, you're typically like, this is a very special year for the boys, like pre-week 1, and then by week 3, you're already looking to next year. So this is different. And honestly, like you just can't ignore what they've done. I gave you a lot of shit for it, but they hung in there with the Super Bowl champions. They then beat someone that we all think is probably the next up and coming quarterback in the league, in Justin Herbert. And then they did, like you said, they did what they're supposed to do, and they beat a subpar team handily.
Yeah, and the Herbert thing stands out to me a lot too for this defense because he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and they turned him over twice in the red zone, twice, and that's a big thing to do against a good quarterback, man. Like if you can go up against all pro quarterbacks, granted, yes, he's got to get his yards, he is, but when he messes up and you capitalize on those mistakes, man, that's a sign of a good defense, and it's just. I can't believe I'm saying it about the Cowboys. It's just so mind-blowing to me that, like, I actually have a defense that's ball hawking, that's opportunistic, and forces turnovers. And it's crazy to me. Because every year, we're at the bottom of the league in turnovers. I haven't seen a game with multiple interceptions since before this year in so long. So, Byron Jones was here for 4 years. 4 years. He had 3 interceptions. Trevon Diggs has played 3 games. He has 3 interceptions. It's different.
While we're on the topic, before we move off, which now knowing what you know and seeing what you have seen, would you still rather that they would have gotten Surtain?
Nope.
Igo's the right person. He is the perfect fit for that defense.
He's rookie of the year right now, right? When you say defensive rookie of the year at this point, yes. Without a doubt. And the fact that he has, like you said, he's perfect for that defense because, like me and DK were talking about earlier, he's this guy that you can put anywhere, man.
Anywhere.
He can cover anyone. He can edge rush. He can defend the rush. He literally is an all-around player. So the Cowboys got one guy, and they got 3 different positions at it. I completely forgot Randy Gregory was out until the 3rd quarter, man. Like, that's how good he was playing last night. That, like, when the announcers were like, Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence. The announcers were like, DeMarcus Lawrence is out. And I was like, oh, shit. DeMarcus Lawrence is out. and it was just, it's amazing, man. I'm so happy that the Broncos, I mean, maybe it was a good decision because Bridgewater was good. But the Broncos fucked up and didn't take Fields or didn't take one of those quarterbacks and went Surtain because I'm so happy Mike is in Dallas, man. He's so good. So good.
We just got through talking about how great Dak looks, how in command he looks. Should we talk about Justin Fields and that absolute abomination, sorry DK, that was a football game and a performance? The Bears, the score, you always tell me that the score isn't everything. Look past the stats, sure. The Bears lose by 20 to the Cleveland Browns, 26-6. Justin Fields was 6 of 20 for 68 yards and was sacked 9 times for 67, meaning that he netted 1 passing yard in the game. Now, I still want him here. I would still rather have Justin Fields over Mac Jones. Every day of the week, twice on Sunday. how bad of a play caller or a game planner do you have to be to design the game that you did for him? Why does Matt Nagy design a game where he drops Justin Fields back like he's a pocket passer? He isn't yet.
Bro, he was an empty back shotgun. I went back and watched some of the game. He was an empty back shotgun for almost half of that game. Where he had, listen, that's absurd. That is crazy. This isn't Miami, all right? This isn't Ohio State. This isn't these offenses that you can just sit back here with, well, we're just going to spread you out and he's going to... It's not the way this works, man. It was so bad. So bad. Listen, with Fields, we both even know. Well, what did you do if Fields was there? You run pistol and you run RPOs all goddamn game long.
You at least make it look like you know that he can do something other than stand in the pocket and throw, because we all know that he's a great athlete, probably one of the best at the quarterback position that we've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. And yet you line him up like he's Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers, just empty formation shotgun, and they can't stop anybody, literally anybody. They're going to get him killed.
Yeah, that was really bad, man. I'm with Mr. Orlowski over there, where I think that's a fireable offense. I think if I was DK, bro, I would have been I almost said is it Soldier Field still?
Yeah.
Okay, I would have been at Soldier Field, just protest, get him out of there, man, because I compared Nagy to Garrett before. He's worse. He's worse than Garrett.
The Bears, again, they're 1-2 so far. It's tough. I do think that they have the future on their team currently. However, what we just saw last week, they're putting their future in jeopardy. I mean, you can't leave them out there like that.
Yeah, man. It really did. It reminded me of a lot of David Carr year. You know what I mean? That's what that looked like, where you had a quarterback who did have upside and promise. And you're right, that's going to kill. If this is what it is all year, especially for a scrambling quarterback like this, his confidence is going to be gone, man, because if he's not out there making plays, he's not doing his thing like Fields can do. We've seen it with scrambling quarterbacks before, with guys who do have that loose cannon, who like to force the ball and make those big plays. When they start to get in their head, they start to turn the ball over a lot. And that's what I see coming for Fields. If they don't figure something out, whether it be just sit in Fields and ride it out with Foles and Dalton, which is what I would do. But if I was the Bears GM, I'd be like, listen, I'm forcing you to do this. If not, you're fired.
Yeah.
But at the end of the season, you fire him anyways.
Well, the whole logic behind it, though, right, is that what we've heard from the beginning of the season is you wanted to learn behind Dalton about the way that he should play quarterback, right? You want to make sure that he's not a run-first guy to protect yourself and protect your investment. All you just proved to him was that you're going to line him up to be killed. You're going to send him back there, and he's just going to get hit within 3 seconds because nobody could get open. And by the time that they did, Cleveland already had, 3 or 4 defenders on him, and not for nothing, but Cleveland's defense, they're not great, but they looked great. When you have Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on the same line, you have to do something to distract the defense and let them know that you're not always going to be throwing it. And Matt Nagy, what he showed me was that he's not ready. He doesn't know how to game plan for a destructive defensive line.
That's where he really, this brings me back to my Garrett correlation, because you just connected it back for me. So the reason I always compare him to Garrett is because of his ineffectiveness to adapt, to change on the fly, to do things that when the defense throws things at you, you actually adjust and change your offense. Like when they're blitzing you, you put extra guys in the box, or maybe throw a few hot routes every once in a while, maybe a couple dump offs. No, this dude was still throwing it out 5 wide, still throwing deep post patterns. It's like, bro, if I was DK, I would have thrown my TV out the window, because I almost did watching that game. Like I had it on one of the screens because I knew we were going to be talking about it this week, and it was so hard to watch. It was so hard to watch, man. Because listen, Cleveland didn't play that great. No. They really didn't. If the Bears had any semblance of offense, that game is much closer. Maybe the Bears win. Browns weren't that good in that game.
Like literally, if you just like do what you say and just how about you just put a running back there with them just to maybe hold one of the defensemen back. Do you know what I mean? The one bright spot that I will say it's obviously it's not on the Bears side. It was good to see Odell Beckham back. I think that, and I also think that they used him correctly. Right? If they weren't, he got 9 targets, but 5 catches for 77 yards. Like that's if that's what his output's going to be. That team just has another layer of effectiveness on them, because now what you don't want to see is Odell Beckham Jr. Getting 13 targets. That means you're going to lose.
Yeah,
because you're not throwing to the open guy. You're just throwing it to Odell. But when you see the targets, it's Odell. It's Odell at 9, Kareem Hunt at 7, and then everyone else at 2 and 3.
Kareem Hunt is a beast, bro. He's awesome. When he gets rolling and he gets some momentum behind him, you can't stop him. It's impossible. He's so good. And then you throw in Nick Chubb up to like that tandem.
32 rushes for 165 yards is what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt combined for. That is absolutely ridiculous. Kareem Hunt was 10 for 81 and a touchdown. Averaged 8 yards a carry, dude. Like that is, if that's the type of ball that you play, I know that you said that Cleveland didn't play that great. I mean, if you're throwing for 250 and you're running for 215 and your defense is getting to the quarterback, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to beat a team like that.
Do you want to hear some funny stats for the Bears?
Sure do.
Okay. So the Bears had 47 total yards, as we already said, 1 passing yard, 46 rushing yards. They ran 40, how many plays? What did it count? So they ran 49 plays, right? You know what that equals out to yards per play? 1.1 yard per play. That is one of the worst ratios I've ever seen. They had 6 first downs. Do you know what that means? That means the Bears gave up more sacks than they had first downs on Sunday. They were 1 for 11 on third down. 1 for 11.
The Bears had 5 more first downs than Justin Fields had net passing yards.
5. Not like 5 times more. No.
Just 5.
5.
Just 5.
It was so bad, man. I really did feel bad because, like I was saying, you guys, I love watching rookie quarterbacks, and I love the upside that surrounds them, the renewed energy in the building. There's something different about it. There wasn't anything different about that.
After this game, does Justin Fields lose any stock in your eye? Like, does his stock diminish, or is this just a byproduct of the fact that he might have been privy to the worst offensive game planning in the history of the National Football League?
Yeah, you can't hurt his stock at all for this, man. When it's 3rd and 6 and you're running sweep draw plays to the right, it's the strong side defenses. I don't think that's Justin Fields' fault, bro. So it was so bad. It was abysmal. It was a shame. It was what I'm trying to figure out.
It was an abomination of football is what it was.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going for.
The next thing we want to talk about is actually your idea, so I'll just kind of let you run with it. I think, we all saw Justin Tucker's field goal. We all saw the fact that, 4th and 20 or 4th and 19 on
19.
on their own like 25-yard line, and the Ravens, all the Lions had to do, all they had to do was allow 18 yards. That's it. Just allow 18 yards and you win the game. But of course they didn't, which led you to thinking about what, Bobby?
So we're trying to think of the worst Lions losses in NFL history, because one thing that stood out about that entire loss to me. So first of all, best kick I've ever seen. One of the best endings I've ever seen to a football game. As soon as that ball left his foot, you knew it had the distance, and you were just watching it, and all of a sudden, boing. To see that thing shoot straight up into the air was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The camera angle on it was just great. But what really, really solidified how amazing this was to me was watching the Lions fans react to yet another just worst loss imaginable. All right. That camera angle from inside the stadium is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Was as soon as his foot touches the ball, you can hear a Lions fan behind the guy with the phone go, "He fucking made it." As soon as it touches his foot, and you just, it's halfway through the air, and you hear the entire stadium, "No." Bro, and when that thing goes through, I have never seen a stronger look of acceptance and dismay on a group of people in my entire life. There's a lady in the first row that she turns around and she just like has this look of like, again, like just, she couldn't believe. And then the dude behind her, you could tell he turned around, he starts dying laughing. He has a big blue Lions jersey on. He starts dying laughing. You know what that laugh is, right? Those are tears. Those are tears that have been succumbed down by just years of memorable losses and now come out as laughter.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there as Red Sox fans, right? We all know it. We all know what that feels like. We all know what it looks like. I just, before we move to the most Lion losses of all time, most Lion-like losses, I think a couple things that are happening from this game. One thing that was true before, that is still true now. Lamar Jackson is not great. I will repeat that. He is not great. 16 of 31, 280, 287, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He's not great. However, 4th and 19, man. The fact that they let that happen is a disgrace to professional football.
He had 72 years to throw that goddamn football. I couldn't believe it. If 4th and 19, you're going to rush 3 and just let him sit back. Have you ever? It was at least 7 seconds he was back there, right? At least.
And like his throw was, like you said, it wasn't under pressure. He didn't even put a lot of pop on it. It was literally just a flick of the wrist. And somehow, if you drop 8 people back, you would think that if an offense can only send 5, someone has to be on everybody. Nope, wide open. Just wide open. The minute I saw that, I was like, I really can't believe that they're going to lose this game, because that was it. You knew it. It was that you knew it was over then. And then that kick was absolutely beautiful. And the way that it hit the crossbar, and then the way that it just popped straight up like a big fuck you to every Detroit Lion fan out there.
It was just flipping them all off. Like,
like, you know what? They were probably all thinking, you know what? Maybe we're still going to squeak one out here because, we deserve to win. And the NFL God's like, no, you don't. You're still Detroit. You are still Detroit. Doesn't matter. You can't. There's not enough lipstick that you put on that pig. You still suck.
My favorite part of the whole thing, dude, was when we were talking about it in the chat, and all of a sudden that 4th down happens, and you said, "Oh, Lions, please don't Lions this." It was the most relatable text I've ever seen, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, they're Lionsing. This is happening, man. This is happening."
I mean, unbelievable kick. Now, I do love that it's the longest field goal in NFL history, and it's not in Denver. Right. So that's going to be a hard mark to beat, because it's a dome, but I mean, it's not easy to kick a 66-yarder in Denver, but it's easier to kick a 66-yarder in Denver than it is in Detroit, one would think. So Justin Tucker, balls, absolute brass balls on that kick. And you're right. He kicked it. And he did the guy from the replacements, the kicker, like the minute he kicked it, he kind of started doing a little hip thing. Like he knew it was going. So I hate the Ravens, fundamentally hate them. But I think that, I'm happy they won, because if there's anything that I like more than a Ravens loss, it's a Lions loss, whether they lost that game.
Yeah, it was amazing. So but actually, before we get into that, the Ravens, bro, I agree with you on that. I have to say, I 100% agree with you on the Ravens. I think that Chiefs win was a little more of, when you get to the end of the season, you look back on like those weird wins where you're like, I can't believe they beat that team. Yeah. I think we're going to look back and see that Ravens game is like, wow, they beat them. Because you're right. For them to struggle with the Lions like that after the 49ers And granted, the Lions came back, but the 49ers pretty much mopped the floor with them in week one.
3 quarters, yeah.
And the Lions didn't look much better last week. And then all of a sudden, supposedly, after your biggest win in your career in franchise history, you come out and you need the longest field goal in history to beat the Detroit Lions. You can't do that as one of the top teams in the league.
Right. You need to bounce, too.
It goes back to exactly what we said about the Cowboys. When you play bad teams and you're a good team, you take care of business and you know that's a good team versus a bad team.
Yeah.
That's not what happened here.
Now, the portion of the program that's undoubtedly going to piss me off the most, it is time for this week's edition of the Real BK's Power Rankings. Go ahead, Bobby. Week 3.
So this week was one of the hardest weeks that I've ever had to do these, just because of how crazy of a week of football it was, how many teams we saw that we thought were really good lose, how many teams that we didn't think were that good win. A couple teams are still 3-0 that we're not expecting to be. So these rankings are a little different than they were last week, to say the least. And I did because there's a couple of 3-0 teams. We'll only list the 10 on the actual power rankings, but I did go to 14 just because I felt like I had to. I had to at least let the world know where I have these other 3-0 teams.
So that means that you have 3-0 teams that are not in the top 10.
No, I have 3-0 teams that are not in the top 10.
Great.
So 14 is the Broncos. Listen, they look good, but they beat the Jets and the Giants to get to 3-0. So I'm really hesitant to say that they're a good football team. Listen, Teddy's playing great. All right. But you beat the Jets and the Giants. All right. You're not going above 14. I'm sorry. 13, this is only because their best player is out. They would have been higher because I had them higher until I was reminded that CMC is out for a few weeks. It's the Panthers at 13.
So just so that I'm clear here, your power rankings don't just take into what's happened to this point, but what could happen moving forward, because you just removed Carolina for something that happened that has not affected them yet.
Yeah, it's the power ranking. The power rankings are the power of the NFL. You know what I mean? It's the power of how you feel it looks on the field right now. All right.
I'm already pissed, and we're already on 13.
So 12, 49ers. I don't believe in this team. I'm sorry. I don't. Any team with Jimmy G as their quarterback, to me, isn't a top 10 team in the NFL. I'm sorry.
Except for when he starts all the games, and then they're the top team in the NFL.
Yeah, but he did not look like a top tier NFL quarterback in week 3. And some of the decisions he makes just don't seem like he's that level of quarterback that can take you to the next level. He'll get you there. But guess what? When it comes down to it, he's going to miss that deep bomb down the middle. And you're not going to win the Super Bowl because of it. That's something that actually happened. So that partnered with the running back injuries in San Francisco right now, they don't have a running back room. They literally don't have one. So it's really tough for me to put them higher than 12. 11. I did it. At 11, we have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, my.
We have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Or, as someone on this podcast once called them, the Kansas Shitty Chiefs.
That happened on the air. That's a true story. I had to do it, man. I was going through this all, and the teams that are in the top 10 just deserve to be there more, whether it be their record, whether it be how they've looked so far. Listen, is Kansas City the 11th? Do I think Kansas City is better than the 11th best team in the NFL? Absolutely. Are there 10 teams that have looked better, been better, and to me, just seem better at football right now? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I would say that 3 of them are actually ranked lower than them on your power rankings.
Exactly. For a 1-2 team to me with all these 3-0 teams and teams that look better, I couldn't do it. I know I have 2 below. I know. Listen, the Panthers and the Broncos, we're going to expose the Panthers this next week. Don't worry. So 10, I have what I like to describe as a night of cocaine in Las Vegas, the Arizona Cardinals. I've never seen a team that's so Jekyll and Hyde my entire life. It's like throughout an entire Arizona Cardinals football game, great things happen, good things happen, and really, really bad things happen to them. But when you get to the end of the night, you're like, well, it was pretty goddamn fun. And at least we came out on top. So that's why the Cardinals to me are 10. 9, I have the Ravens. I know what we just said about Lamar, but listen, they did beat the Chiefs. And they did win against the Lions. So I can't take a team. I believe I had them at 4 last week or 5. Yes. I can't take a team out of the top 10 after winning a game. I know it was ugly, but I just can't do it, especially after beating the Chiefs last week. Can't do it.
I think the Chiefs lost to the Ravens more than the Ravens beat the Chiefs, but go ahead.
Agreed. But so 8, Los Angeles Chargers. I think this team is legit. Justin Herbert is legit. They beat the Chiefs, wholeheartedly on Sunday. They beat them good, and they stopped Mahomes on a fourth quarter drive to win the game, which is something that pretty much not many people in the NFL have been able to do so far.
It's true.
So we have the Chargers at 8. Number 7, couldn't put them any higher than this. The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, thank Jesus. I really thought I was in a CEO world where the Cowboys were top 5.
No, I wasn't doing it. I couldn't put them any higher than this. I have the Cowboys at 7. I do absolutely believe in this team. I think that's very evident here. Just the way they've looked, they absolutely look like one of the best 10 teams in the NFL. I thought at week 1, watching everyone, I was like, listen, this team is better than most of these teams. So Cowboys are 7. Number 6, listen, I know week 1 was really bad. Aaron Rodgers is back, man. Green Bay Packers are number 6. He was so good on Sunday night. 37 seconds left for him to drive down, get them in the field goal range and win that game. Impressive, man. Got to give it to him on that one. Packers are 6. Making their first appearance since the preseason top 10 rankings, power rankings, the Buffalo Bills. All right. They showed me a lot after these past 2 weeks. I doubted them after the week 1 against the Steelers, which is going to be another one of those outlier games because, man, the Steelers are bad. I don't know how they beat the Bills. But then the next 2 weeks came back out and demolished the Dolphins, won by $1 billion yesterday. So we have the Bills at 5. 4, team that has stayed pat at this number 4 ranking this entire time, Cleveland Browns. They manhandled the Bears. Only loss so far this season is to the Kansas City Chiefs. Granted, yes, the Chiefs have lost 2 in a row since then. But 2-1, and I still think they're one of the better teams in the NFL. I love their defense. I love that backfield. And I enjoy Baker Mayfield. So keeping them at 4. I see you judging it. Number 3, Mike, I know you'll like this one. Number 3, we have the Los Angeles Raiders. The Raiders. They're here, guys. I think they're legit. I love this team, man. DK's ears are gonna be bleeding hearing this, but I think Gruden's doing a great job this year. I really do.
Did you call them the Los Angeles Raiders?
Did I? The Las Vegas Raiders. So I do think Gruden's doing a really good job this year. And Carr looks like he might be one of the top 6-7 quarterbacks in the league right now.
I mean, basically for passing yards, he's the best quarterback in the league right now.
So there you go. Raiders at 3. Number 2, I had to move them down 1 because they just got smoked by the team at number 1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I didn't see it coming. I definitely didn't. I knew the Rams were good, but I definitely did not see the manhandling that they put on the Bucs coming. Bucs at 2. I'm surprised that they're not. I thought there was going to be a 17-0 here for Brady. I thought he was going to take it to that next level, Oh,
the next level.
That's next level, right? And then number 1, it's a no-brainer, man. The LA Rams. They are a wagon right now. Matthew Stafford and McVay are a match made in heaven. They look like they love playing football together. The only thing that scares me about them is your former running back, Sonny Michel, being their starting running back right now. As I like to call him, Mr. 3.2 himself. So that's the only thing that scares me. If that backfield can get healthy, I don't see a lot of teams being able to stop them with that defense, that offense. They're going to be tough to beat.
Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, man. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is unbelievable this year. The way that he just roams around the defensive backfield and is wherever they need him to be, whenever they need him to be there, they can be, and they look to be a force to be reckoned with. I also think that, this whole narrative that Matt Stafford never had any offensive talent. That's bullshit. Remember, he did have Calvin Johnson.
So much talent.
He did have Golden Tate. He did have Marvin Jones. The list really just goes on. But I think this is the best system he's ever been a part of. I think McVay knows how to coach him. I don't think that the Rams are going to go 17-0, but 13-4. That's in play.
Yeah. Do you think they run away with the West? The only ones I think that can really challenge them. I don't know if the Seahawks are real anymore. They obviously dropped far out. Are the Niners, right? I don't think can the Cardinals challenge the Rams in that division?
I still think at the end of this year, the Seahawks will be, if not the first, the second in that division.
Yeah.
Yeah. Russell Wilson does not have losing seasons.
Yeah, sure.
There's always a first, I guess, but I don't think it's going to happen now. I think that offense just hasn't really been clicking, although Tyler Lockett has been absolutely fucking destroying me in fantasy football. But that entire offense, once it clicks, Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, Lockett, and they're in the situation now that Dallas was last year, right? Just don't be the worst defense in the league. Just be the 17th defense in the league. You're going to be fine.
Mike, you'd be a great NFL coach, bro. Listen, guys, just don't be the worst,
right?
And we'll be okay.
Listen, if you don't have the horses on defense, that's fine. Just a little bit better, just a little bit more, and I promise you, there's going to be the playoffs. Which now brings us to what I believe is the most anticipated regular season football game in the history of the National Football League. You have Tom fucking Brady coming back in to the house that Drew Bledsoe built, but that he decorated for the first time since leaving here and winning a Super Bowl in his first year without Bill Belichick. Mind you, just to appease you, Bobby, the Patriots looked like an absolute shit missile last weekend. Now, I was with a bunch of people from out of state. I told them, they were Saints fans, you're going to win this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I just know it. I thought it was going to be because they looked past the Saints. Who would have thought it's just because the Saints were better? You dropped Mac Jones back 51 times, and he was pressured 35% of the time. It's unbelievable. Yeah. We talked about it with Justin Fields, right? I understand he wasn't sacked 9 times for 67 yards, but he didn't have any time to process anything. That offensive line is absolute garbage. And I don't know, we're about to play a team who's been told that their defense is not as good as they were last year, that they suck. This smells to me like the Tampa Bay defense is going to eat Mac Jones alive.
So that Pats game, I think Bill did Mac a huge disservice. After he threw that pick six, listen, I know you're still in the game. Dude obviously doesn't have it today. All right. I don't throw him back out there for 50 times like that. I take him out, put him away for the rest of the game, man. Because at that point, listen, James White was out. Brandon Bolden, right, in the backfield on pass coverage. And there's a blitz up the middle. Brandon Bolden, I was so mad watching him try to play pass coverage on a blitz coverage. I'm not even a Pats fan. To see this dude just stand back there, right? He's in the middle. He went to the left, goes to the right, doesn't touch anyone. Not one person. And Mac Jones has 3 dudes on him. And he throws that wobbly pick, right? Next pick.
He was hit when he threw it.
Right, that's what I mean. So he's hit when he throws it, and he throws that pick. And so that's, to me, not his fault. That's your pocket breaking down. That's your running back not knowing that he's a fucking professional NFL running back and how to pick up a blitz. And that's what happens. You know, when the rest of your teammates fail, you also fail. It's just the way it works. Then the second pick hit Jonnu Smith square in the goddamn hands. So he hit him right in the hands. It was the first play coming out of half, right?
Yep.
Yeah, first play coming out of half, right in the hands, pick six. To me, if I'm Bill, man, at that point, you know that you don't have it today. You know next week's a big game. You know you need Mac on his game next week to look like you're an NFL football team next week. I would have taken him out right there because the narrative that got created now is that Mac Jones is going to be a bust, that Mac Jones is this, that guys, it's been 3 goddamn games of his career. Okay. And it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. Yes, he made some bad choices, but good.
Not for nothing. I'm not in the Mac Jones is going to be a bust camp. I'm just also, I've never been. I stand by what I said 6 weeks ago. This team would have been better off with Cam Newton running this offense this year. I know it. Everyone now knows it because what happened on Sunday and the Sunday before and the Sunday before it, these are all Cam Newton-like wins and losses. 1 win, 2 losses, not a lot of touchdowns. The thing that you have lost is your red zone efficiency. You're now one of the very worst teams in the red zone in the NFL. I think it's a 29% red zone scoring percentage, which, by the way, is half of what it was last year. Mac Jones in this past game, though, against the Saints, it wasn't his fault, man. When you drop back 51 times and you're pressured 35% of the time, it's not good. And oh, by the way, when one of your high-priced tight ends decides that today's not the day that he wants to catch the football, you're screwed.
Yeah, you toast. It's 25% after this past weekend, and it's 32nd in the league.
Yeah, they're the worst team. They are the worst red zone scoring team, and it's awful. And this, by the way, like this defense, they're not playing great either.
What happened to your front seven, bro? The Kamara in that Saints offense just ran all over them, walked all over them that entire game. Judon was a goddamn no-show in that game. Hightower, no-show. Hightower got trucked by Taysom Hill. How the hell do you let yourself get trucked by Taysom Hill, Dante Hightower? I was shocked. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. Couldn't believe it.
So all of this is happening, and now Brady is coming back, like I said, to Gillette Stadium after losing by 10 points to the Rams. What do you think he's going to do? Like, before we even get to the game, because that's it. That's an easy answer. As someone who's no longer a Patriots fan, Bobby, how excited are you for everything leading up to the first kickoff of this game?
I mean, it does tickle my insides a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I did feel bad. I'd say that Adele thing that they came out with on Sunday Night Football, man, I almost teared up. I was sitting there just like, oh, Tom, what on the other side? What do you mean? It's going to be a tough week for you guys. And I can't say I'm not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, you are.
But I'm going to enjoy it a little bit. But like, I'm really not, though, because listen, it's all Bill's fault. That's what it comes down to. Is like, I don't care what anyone says. When it comes down to it, if Bill Belichick wanted Tom Brady in New England, he would be here. Period. All right. And there's no doubt of that in my mind. Like, you have the greatest quarterback. No, it's not even goddamn close. And he comes up to you at 37 and says, I want a 5-year contract. I want to play till I'm 45. You know what you do? You look at him and go, okay, I don't care. I don't care. You do it. And if he sucks before that, you cut him. Whatever. But you do it, man, because this is what happens. It is, you get to this point where it's like, okay, what? Oh, you're just another one of the 53 guys. Fuck you, bro. It's Tom Brady. So it's a little bittersweet because I'm like, listen, they did it. Bill did it to you guys. You guys should still have Tom Brady. If things got handled without ego, with football decisions, as Bill always says it is, Tom Brady will still be here. So it hurts a little bit for you guys.
Bill always likes to talk about how you'd rather be a year too early than a year too late. Right? Fine. You might have been 5 years early with Brady. There's a real chance that this SOB now, because of how much the game has changed now, how much you protect the quarterback, he might see it in his eyes or think in his brain, I want to outlast Bill. I want to be here. Maybe I'll play. He said to Gronk, I'll play till I'm 50. Maybe he was kidding. Maybe he wasn't. As it's currently constituted right now, through 3 weeks of NFL football, Brady is 97 of 141 for 1,087 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks. To quote Rayshawn from this time last year, ball game. That's it. Like, he went and he won the Super Bowl in his first year. Oh, now but he's 44, and he's the second leading passer in the league, and your rookie gunslinger from Alabama is the 21st leading passer in the league. I mean, again, we're kind of a family-friendly show, but that's him telling Bill, fuck off. You were wrong, and I will be here way longer than you thought I would. And now there's this real possibility. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but if he wins 1, 2, maybe 3, do we start thinking about Tom Brady not in just the context of the New England Patriots? Like, you'll actually remember his Bucs career. That's the scary part to me. You don't remember the majority of Joe Montana's Chiefs career. Yeah, he was there for a couple of years. Yeah, he brought him to the AFC title game. Yeah, whatever. If Brady goes to Tampa after going to 9 Super Bowls in his first 19 years in the league as a starter, and then he wins his first one, and then maybe he wins 2 more, or maybe he just goes to 2 more. Now the conversation is, okay, he had a Hall of Fame career, 3 Hall of Fame careers in New England. He also had a separate Hall of Fame career in Tampa Bay. That's what we're talking about now. So I think, let me just get right down to my prediction. It will either be a 38-point win for Tampa Bay, or Belichick wins by 1. But it won't be close. Belichick's going to throw everything that he has at Tom Brady. I think he's the only coach in the league that knows Tom, better than Tom might know himself in terms of where he's going to go in the field. But you don't have the horses. You couldn't get to you could not get to Jameis Winston. You think Tom Brady's going to hold on to the ball for longer than 4 seconds? No, not once, not never. That's never going to happen, Bobby. This is going to be an absolute clinic by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
Which part? I said a lot.
So that it's going to be an absolute clinic by the Buccaneers, because the motivation that Tampa has coming into this game. So first of all, they just came off their first loss of the season. A. B, the motivation is absolutely on Brady's and the Bucs side. You know what I mean? When you think about it, Brady was the one that was slighted. Brady's the one who, according to his dad and Alex Guerrero, was treated like a 20-year-old kid, not a 40-year-old man. Brady's the one who decided that he needed to leave to better his life and his happiness. So there's so many different aspects of this that gives the motivation to Brady. On top of that, the Buccaneers are just by far away a better football team. So it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be 38-7 if I had to put a score on it. The only chance the Pats have is they have to realize that they have a rookie quarterback and stop trying what they're doing with this whole dump and run game. I tweeted something yesterday where it's it could be 30-70 and Josh McDaniels would run a screen pass. It's bro, it's so true though, because it just seems like that's all he knows how to do at this point. The only way they can beat the Bucs is attack that secondary. They have to be aggressive through the air. They have to attack that secondary because they're beat up back there. That's how Dallas almost beat them. They don't spread the ball around. And if Mac doesn't have his first 300-yard passing game, it's going to be ugly.
I mean, do you have any confidence in the Patriots' ability to stop Devin White, Ndamukong Suh, and Jason Pierre-Paul from getting to him? Because I don't. So yeah, you attack the secondary, but that means that you have to at least let a play develop for longer than 4 seconds. And I don't know that that's going to be able to happen. Also, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, and I know that this is a little soundbite-ish, but if you don't think that Rob Gronkowski wants to stick his foot far up Bill Belichick's ass in this game, you are very, very, very mistaken. This might be the game that Gronk goes 7 for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns. Literally, and just spikes it right in Bill's grunting, oversized face.
How about that? How many seam routes do you think are happening on Sunday? Do you think they specifically have like 3 to 4 seam routes called just to be like, hey, Bill, remember this?
I do wonder if Hightower can cover that. Because you got to imagine that he didn't practice for a long time.
Maybe the old Hightower, man, but this doesn't look like the same Dante Hightower. I mean, maybe it's rust because he sat out last year, but I never saw Dante Hightower. Like I said, that Taysom thing stood out to me because that was 4th down, too. That was the game. That was the game. And Taysom trucked him. So, I don't know, maybe he can, but not the way he's been playing. And it's got to be ugly, especially no JoJo White, too, which is a big thing. James White.
Yeah, I know. Well, if Mac Jones is your leading rusher, you're in trouble. You're in real trouble because he was last week. I don't know where Damian Harris went, but you give him 6 carries for 14 yards. What are we doing? Mac Jones rushed it 6 times for 28 yards against the Saints. So that cannot happen. A couple of the bright spots that that could lead them to picking apart the secondary. Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has been Mr. Reliable ever since Tom left. I think he was one of the receivers that Tom froze out, whatever, right? But they don't have the horses to compete with if he's off the COVID list. Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, OJ Howard, Cameron Brate. I think, is Scotty Miller still there? I think
He's hurt.
Okay. Well, he's still better than Jonnu Smith. So
hurt.
Yeah, great to spend that money. Last thing we'll talk about for this game that I think it's being talked about nationally. Bill Belichick is 62-74 without Tom Brady. That is a worse winning percentage than Rex Ryan, who has been fired twice and is now in the broadcast booth because no one thinks that he has the ability to win. Belichick looks ordinary without the greatest of all time to ever do it. Now, it was both of them. Phil Jackson won with Michael and with Kobe. Belichick needs to have another plan because if he doesn't, he will be remembered as the greatest coach in New England history that was elevated because he had the greatest football player in the history of the game.
Yeah, I think Belichick, listen, he's a football genius. He really is. But I think that those traits and things that have been endearing for all those years with Brady are really coming back to bite him in the ass now because you look at how Brady reacted once he went to Tampa Bay, how much fun he's having, how much he's bringing in those other guys that he wanted to play with, how it's his team, and how it's this machine that Brady built. That's what, if Belichick just could have been like, all right, Brady, you know what? Fuck it. Do your thing. All that's in New England. And it to me, it really is a spot on Belichick's record when it comes down to it because he really does look ordinary. Not only does he look ordinary, but he looks like an ordinary asshole. Yep. So those two combinations as a head coach isn't going to work for you. If you're not a great X's and O's guys, or you're not, the greatest let's go, hoorah guy, then you better be able to connect to your players and you better be able to have them want to win and want to go out there and run through a wall for you. Bill doesn't give me that feeling of let's go at all. And I think that was very evident this past Sunday because that team was not ready to play.
Not to go too far back, but 2019 wasn't Bill's fault. I give him a pass on that. He just comes off of 3 straight years in the Super Bowl, 10 straight years in the conference title game. Rob Gronkowski fucked them that year by retiring late. Also, Bill brought in Antonio Brown. I understand why they had to let go of him the way that they did. Maybe just don't threaten a woman and their child, please. Can you not do that? But that being said, Brady leaving is Bill's fault. You just say, listen, Tom, you know what? Let's just ride this until your wheels fall off. Not the wheels, but yours. Whatever you need. If you need 3 more years at, we'll call it $30 million a year guaranteed, let's do it. Because, I think last year still would have been a down year because of all the dead money that they had tied into it. But I find it hard to believe that all the players that opted out last year would have still opted out as Tom Brady was the quarterback, right? I think they would have definitely would have played.
100%.
You still would have made a run at the division. So right now, Belichick looks like a guy. He looks like Don Shula, right? Don Shula was a football genius in the 70s. He wasn't a football genius in the 90s when he was still coaching the Dolphins. That's what you're scared of. Yeah, I think he might be the greatest mind that the game has ever seen. But has he lost it? Is he still coaching like it is the mid-2000s or the mid-2010s, right? And now that he doesn't have the greatest player in the world at their position to cover up all of his mistakes, this is what you get. I still think the Patriots are going to be better than what they are currently. I was hoping that they would be coming into this game at 3-0. That way they can walk out at 3-1. Now there's a real chance that they're going to be, 1-3 after this game, which is awful. Last thing before we wrap up, it's been a long show. I just want to take this time to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. The Boston Red Sox are absolute fucking frauds. They are. Thank you so much for doing for giving me the pleasure of having a meaningful August, September. Great, love you, mean it. But they are mentally inept. They are mental midgets. Also, you have the season, your destiny, the postseason in your hands. The Yankees come into town last weekend, and they beat the brakes off of you. The Red Sox started this year 9-4 against the Yankees. Since the trade deadline, they're 0-6. So you tell me, do you want to go into New York on October 5th? And if you do you have any confidence that they're going to win? They won't. Nathan Eovaldi. Yeah, great story. I think the guy has balls. I really do. But there's a real difference between being a number 1 starter and a number 3 starter.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Bro, that first game, you knew it was going to be a long series as soon as that game started because they looked flat from inning 1. Our bullpen, Matt Barnes, bro, is the biggest fraud of them all. And I think we all knew it the whole time. That man might be the least talented all-star in the history of Major League Baseball. He made the all-star team this year, right? Come August, we're putting him in the 6th inning, and it is 7-1, 8-1, just so he can get his confidence back. Bro, get out of here. You are not a closer. The Red Sox do not have a closer, and that is going to be the death of them by the end of this year.
That Giancarlo Stanton home run was the most Manny Ramirez-like home run I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a right-handed hitter put a ball that far over the bullpen in right field. It was absolutely ridiculous. But again, it speaks to the overall mentality and mental fortitude of this team. They have no mental toughness. And you know what? Ownership in the front office didn't believe in them anyway, because you saw what they did at the trade deadline. They went and got they went out and they got a first baseman. The problem there is the guys never fucking played first base in the major leagues. I don't understand it. And last thing I'll say about this team, against teams that are better than 500, the Red Sox are 46-48. They're not a good team. They are a better team than we thought they were going to be, which is great. 88-68, perfect. 90-win team, awesome. Hope to God that that's true. But in a late September series, when your arch rivals come into your ballpark and you are in possession of the number 1 wild card spot, you got swept. You got swept. You got your asses handed to you. And now all you can do is pray that you hold on to that second spot. And you're going to, right? For a while, because Toronto and Tampa Bay are playing each other. Toronto and New York are playing each other. So just don't lose. Just split your next series, right? Just beat Baltimore or sweep them. If you do that, then yeah, you're going to hold on to the second wild card spot. But do whatever you need to do to not go to New York on October 5th, because this is not a prediction. It is a spoiler. If you go there, you're going to lose and you're going to go home.
Yeah, man, completely agree. What's so frustrating about the whole thing is not even just these side guys that aren't stepping up. It's the guys that we expected to that aren't doing anything. You look at Xander and Devers, they were 9 for 41 in this series, which is a combined 220 batting average. For your two backbones against your rival to show out like that is so telling. And I got a message from Rayshawn the other day. I think one of them, man, I think you got to see what's out there for him. You know what I mean? You got to shake this up a little more. I think we're one step away from being able to do something. But I don't know. The both of them, that left side of the defense is such a liability because Devers over there, Bogart's over there. And if they're not going to pull their weight with the bats in these big situations, man, you got to do something. So I'm with you. I'm thinking about the Orioles, thinking about positivity. You know, there's still a chance this team could have a playoff game in Boston. Very possible. A wild card playoff game. God damn it, man. That was so frustrating. That was one of the most frustrating baseball season or series I've seen in quite a time.
If you would just split with the Yankees since the trade deadline, just split with them. You're still in a commanding place in terms of that wild card spot, right? But instead you go 0-6. You lose all 6 games against your arch rivals, who, by the way, went out of their way to spend their asses off and get the players that they needed to get to fill the voids that they had on that team. You did nothing. So I disagree with you in the sense that I think your offense is not your issue. You need to, in this offseason, spend whatever you need to spend. Go over the threshold, go over the tax, get actual pitchers. Chris Sale has been great since he came back. Now surround him with actual talent. Again, I think Nathan Eovaldi, I think he has balls, but he's not a number 1. So figure it out. Now, if he's your number 3, Chris Sale is your number 2, and you get a real number 1 in here, then now we're talking about a 100-win Red Sox team, right? So that's really all I had to say about the Red Sox. Bob, do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, so I have a question for you. So with the COVID stuff, right? So since the trade deadline, I'm just going to give you the numbers. Yankees are 35-19. Red Sox are 25-26. So that means the Yankees have gained 10 games on the Red Sox since the trade deadline, which first is just absurd. How much of that COVID outbreak do you think had to do with it? And do you think that this would be a different conversation if we didn't do that? If that didn't happen, are we having a different conversation about how this bullpen looks, about how this rotation looks, about how the swag in this team looks? Because listen, at the beginning of the year, this team had swag. It just doesn't seem like it's there anymore. And just to add on to this, the Red Sox just lost to the Baltimore Orioles tonight. So that's, so like the swag has completely disappeared from this team. And I don't know I feel like it had to be the COVID thing, right?
No, I think that it's fake swag, dude. I think that they're self-entitled. That their first 30 games, sure. For all those that wrote about us at the beginning of the year, we remember. Yeah? Remember this. Remember this, okay? Because again, like you just said, the Yankees gained 10 games on them since the All-Star break or the trade deadline, right? 6 of those were head-to-head, Bobby.
Yeah.
Just split, and everything that you just told me is way different. Yeah, COVID's an issue. But as far as I know, you're not the only team in the league that's dealt with COVID. So, like, figure it out, because it's still here. It's not going anywhere in the foreseeable future, and every other team has to deal with it. And if you think that your team has a chance to make a run, if you're in the front office, spend money. They will do it, right? This is what they will do. We know it. This is the difference between 07, 13, and 18. There's like that 5-year gap where they kind of dick around and they're near the playoffs. And then there's that one abomination last year where they're like, oh, okay, we got to do something here. And they'll get to the World Series again, right? You have the horses on offense. You have pretty good starting pitching, right? Chris Sale, Eovaldi, and then Enrique Rodriguez, right? That's good. Or you just need to surround them with the right people. So,
yeah, I mean, so we said it at the deadline, though, right? We said it when they only got Schwarber listed. I was trying to stick it for them, like, oh no, they got the pieces, they got this, they got that. Listen, they even said it. We need to show our guys that we believe that they can make this run, that we're only that next piece away from making the run. Charrington came out and said that. And the only thing he brought back here was Nick Schwarber.
Was the first baseman who doesn't play first.
Right. So who is Kyle Schwarber? Did I see Nick Schwarber? Kyle Schwarber. And it's so frustrating, man, because you're right. If they went out and they got, listen, we were in the running for Scherzer. Scherzer has been an absolute animal for the Dodgers since he got here. I'm pretty sure he is under a 1 ERA, or it's like 1-1 or something stupid like that. So it's just crazy, man. If they went out and made the moves that they could have made, because we have the farm pieces, we'd be in a different situation right now. But they didn't, and here we are.
This has been another edition of Missing the Point. I am Mike. You're joined by the real BK, Bob Kelly. Again, thank you, Craig. Go Cowboys, go Bears, go Patriots, but more importantly, go Tom Brady. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, what's happening out there, everybody? This is Lawrence Ross, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my podcast, The Lawrence Ross Show.
Egomaniac.
It's a 2-hour weekly exploration into my mind. I also do sketches, celebrity impersonations.
You're out of order!
And I also do song parodies. Not too shabby for a blind guy.
Not only are you visually impaired, but you are geographically impaired.
New episodes are released every Friday. Check it out on your favorite podcasting platform or listen to it here on Society 13 on Electrocast.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Back podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Back podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Electrocast.